Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be making a cheese that is incredibly easy to make. This particular cheese doesn't require aging, so you don't need a cheese cave, and from start to finish you can make it in just a couple of days. This particular cheese is called Le Chevre or Chevre, and it's a soft French cheese made with goat milk. Let me show you how to make it. I'm going to get started with a couple gallons of goat milk, and I haven't done anything special to this milk. I took it out of the fridge about 3 hours ago. It's been sitting on my kitchen counter, and the temperature of my milk right now is about 65, 67 degrees, and that's perfect. The first thing I'm going to add is calcium chloride. If you can get your hands on raw goat milk, you can skip this first ingredient. Calcium chloride is added to restore the balance of calcium in milk that's been pasteurized. So we're going to add that calcium chloride. Once we give it a stir, we're going to go ahead and add our starter culture. I'm going to be using a mesophilic starter culture called Floridanica. Any mesophilic culture will work for this particular cheese. And the trick here is to not add too much. We want this to ripen very, very slowly. So once we add our starter culture, we're going to let that rehydrate for 3 minutes, and then we're going to give it a stir with an up and down motion. I'm going to stir this for about 5 minutes, and once I'm done stirring, we're going to add our final ingredient, which is just going to be a touch of rennet. I don't want to add too much rennet because I want the heavy lifting of the curd formation to come from the lactic acid production from our starter culture. So we're just going to add a tiny bit of rennet. I'm going to show you that here in a minute, and we will be done. The total amount of rennet we're going to add is about 4 drops per gallon of milk, and then we're going to give it a stir. So an even easier way to make this cheese is to use a starter packet from the New England Cheese Making Supply Company called Chevre Starter Culture, which is your starter culture and your rennet included in a little packet. And all you do is you add that packet to your milk, give it a stir, and you're done. So that's an even easier way to do it. I'm going to put a link in the description box below if you want some more information on the Chevre starter culture. So once we finish stirring our milk with an up and down motion for 1 minute, we're going to put a lid on our container and allow it to do its thing. This is going to sit in my kitchen on the countertop for anywhere between 18 to 24 hours. And remember, the trick is to have it set nice and slowly. So the temperature of your room should be 68 to 72 Fahrenheit or 20 to 22 Celsius. And after 18 to 24 hours, you're going to notice that your milk has made one solid curd mass, and you should have about a ½ an inch of whey that has accumulated on the very top. If you happen to have the ability to test the pH of your curd mass, your target pH is going to be somewhere between 4.6 and 4.7. And as I'm testing right now, it looks like my pH is 4.65, and we're good to go. Now, that normally takes between 18 to 24 hours under these parameters. If you notice that it sets too fast, you can either add less culture or put it in a slightly cooler area next time you make it. Before you cut your mass, you should get an understanding of what this particular curd feels like. So put your hand on it, press it down a little bit. It should feel like a very firm yogurt, and if you put your finger in it and lift up, you should get a clean break. So we're going to go ahead and cut our curd mass by doing ½ inch vertical cuts, and then we're going to do ½ inch horizontal cuts. We're now going to scoop out our curds and place them in a cheesecloth lined colander. And notice how I scoop out the curds. We're in essence going to be forming small cubes, which is going to help with the drainage of the whey. Now that our curds have been put into the cheesecloth, we need to begin draining this cheese. And this is a very important step because during this draining process, you get to control the texture and the flavor profile of your finished chef. So as we drain the whey, your cheese will become drier, and during this process, lactic acid is still going to be produced. So the longer you drain it, the more acidic your chef will be. Now, you do actually have to hang this cheese. You can't leave it in the colander, otherwise it doesn't drain properly. So let's go ahead and get the other one tied up, and let me show you how I like to drain this cheese. So I'm not a super huge fan of draining cheese from your kitchen cabinets. The cheese in this state with the whey is quite heavy, and it does put a lot of tension and a lot of pressure on the little knob of your cabinet, which could lead to a problem, especially in the middle of the night, and you definitely don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a couple of spatulas right on top of the bundle and then just tie them off with a knot. These spatulas are going to act as a support for the cheese as we place them in a larger pot to drain. Your cheese is going to drain for between 12 to 24 hours in a room that has a temperature of 68 to 72 Fahrenheit or 20 to 22 Celsius. And here's where you get to control the finished product. If you want a sweeter, creamier Chevre, you're going to drain it for between 12 to 18 hours. If you want a tangier and slightly drier Chevre, you're going to drain it for between 24 to 36 hours. I personally like my Chevre to be slightly creamy and a little tangy, so kind of right in between. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove our cheese from the cheesecloth. It's been hanging for about 15 to 16 hours for me, and depending on how long you let it hang, the texture of the cheese should be relatively soft and uniformly dry. So what we're going to do next is weigh our cheese. I'm just going to empty that cheese out of the cheesecloth onto a bowl that's on a scale because I want to salt it, and we're going to add 1% salt. That means my cheese currently weighs 1,606 grams, so 1% of that is 16 grams of salt. Now, you can add salt to taste, and that's totally fine, but I personally like the precise measurement of knowing exactly how much salt to add. So for me, 1% is perfect. I'm going to add half of it in first, and then I'm going to mix it well with the spoon, and then I'm going to add the other half. And at this point, your Chevre is completely finished. You can place this in the refrigerator and enjoy it over the next 2 weeks. You can put it in some cling film and form a log out of it, or you can place this cheese into a mold, which is completely optional. And so I'm going to show you how we mold these up, and we're just going to be using some 8-ounce molds from the New England Cheesemaking Supply Company, and I think I used 1 16-ounce square mold. So I'm just going to spoon this very creamy salted Chevre into the mold, and with a spoon, I'm just going to smooth off the top. Once we have it in the mold, I'm going to cover it with cling film, and we're going to place this into our refrigerator. Now, what's going to happen is in your refrigerator, this Chevre is going to firm up. Right now, it's incredibly soft. So if you try to unmold it right now, it's going to be a huge mess. So we're going to place our cheese into the fridge to firm up. And once it's firm, and that normally takes between, 2 to 3 hours, you can unmold it and enjoy. And what I like to do while the cheese is in the refrigerator firming up is flip it one time about midway through so I can get a nice design on both sides, but that is completely optional. So we're just going to loosen that cheese, pop it down on a piece of wax paper, and we now have our individual portions. A really cool thing to know about this cheese is that it freezes well. So if you can't eat all that you made, wrap it real tight, place it in the freezer, and enjoy at your convenience. A neat way to enjoy this cheese is to coat it with your favorite herbs or spices. We love black pepper, so we have some freshly ground black pepper that we're going to coat this particular Chevre with, but you can use basil, lemon zest, you could use thyme, rosemary, really anything you have on hand would work, and this is our finished product. Okay, let's give it a little taste. I love this cheese. It's easy to make, it doesn't take very long, and the end product is absolutely incredible. All right, here we go. Let's see what it tastes like. That's delicious. I can eat this all day long. This cheese is mild, very creamy, slightly sweet, and a little acidic. So for me, it's perfect. I love the pepper, and I hope you get a chance to make it. If you have any questions on how to make le Chevre, please leave them in the comment section below. And if you got anything out of this video, a thumbs up would be helpful. For those of you who are new to our channel, we'd like to say welcome. We post new videos each week, so don't forget to hit that notification bell so you can be notified each time we make an upload. We'll see you in the next one.